Chapter 101, Mission Rewards, colon, General POV, Computer, lock down the watchtower. Wonder Woman said while bursting into the room along with Superman, Hawkman, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter. Is everybody unharmed? Superman asked in concern. The question was directed to the teens who still looked surprised at how unexpected things had turned out. They're fine. I got here before anything could happen. The Flash answered. Damn it, Aqualad said, slamming his arms through the table tennis. The wood splintered off into numerous shards as the table was turned into two pieces. He got away. Again. Aqualad fumed. Green Lantern's ring glowed as he scanned the room. Energy signature of boom tube activity. He informed the others. Superman's eyes pierced through the room, combing through it with his supervision only to come up empty. There doesn't seem to be anything else. Wonder Woman nodded. Manhunter will make his way towards Miss Martian and Superboy, while the rest of us will split up and try to find any whereabouts of Aden. That, or whatever he wanted to access the watchtower for. He played us for fools. Not again. She finished relaying the orders in a hard tone and left the room. Calder, you need to calm down, Artemis told him, placing a hand on his shoulder. He shrugged it off and stormed out, following behind Wonder Woman and the rest of the League in anger. This is not like him, Wally muttered, looking worriedly at Aqualad's back. We have worse things to worry about. I just accessed the surveillance footage from the interrogation room, Robin said, his fingers dancing on the holographic display projected by his wrist computer. You mean hacked? The Flash remarked offhandedly. Boy Wonder, Kid Flash and Artemis almost jumped up in shock. Uncle Barry, I thought you left with the League? Kid Flash asked. The fastest man in the world sighed, staring at his slightly vibrating hands. Something is wrong with my speed. I can't seem to control it. Streaks of lightning randomly flashed around his body. It didn't seem like it, but before I burst into the room, I could feel something suppress my speed momentarily. I couldn't go into flash time. Wally gasped at the Flash's words. He understood what a big deal flash time was. So Flash telling him that left him shocked. Wally focused on deep within himself and sighed in relief when he felt the familiar erratic current of energy that powered his super speed. Sorry guys, not to take away from that, but we got bigger fish to fry. Look at this. Boy Wonder cut in by enlarging the screen. Artemis' eyes widened from where she was looking over his shoulder. Two separate video frames begun playing. On one side, there was a clip showing the team playing table tennis, and on the other, the footage showed Green Lantern Stewart leaving the interrogation room. The Flash frowned. John was telling us he couldn't remember how he got there. As a matter of fact, I can't remember why we even let him walk Aden to the interrogation room alone. Unless it was all part of Aden's plan. Artemis surmised. I thought it was strange the way he allowed us to capture him so easily. The Aden I know would have stubbornly fought tooth and nail. Made us work for it. She then went silent as the rest of the video played. Aden raised his head and stared at the camera, a small mischievous smile appearing on his face. Three things happened next at the same time. First, he disappeared from the room. Second, the door to the interrogation room turned to scrap metal, and lastly, Aden appeared on the other footage showing the team, relaxed and missing the handcuffs that had previously been on his hands. Silence dominated the room. This is bad. Kid Flash finally spoke up. Yeah, that's not an ability we want to mess with. It also makes sense why the Flash was affected. His speed would invalidate its effects. Aden knew that, so he must have come up with something else to make sure you wouldn't intervene in what he was planning. Robin agreed, tightening his fingers into fists. Am I missing something? Artemis wondered. She had no clue what was going on, just that everyone suddenly looked spooked. The Flash straightened up. Aden can stop time. He dropped a bombshell. The League needs to hear this. You three will make your way to the rest of your teammates while we try and ran a check through the watchtower systems to find any anomalies. Understood? The speedster gave the order and left without waiting for an answer. Robin swiped the clips away and started keying in something else into the holographic keypad. I'm calling Batman. No one else knows the watchtower like he does. Despite spending almost 10 hours combing through the system and running diagnostic checks every few minutes, nothing turned up. There were no traces left of Aden's actions during the time he had free reign of the watchtower, and that scared them more than they let on. Aden's POV. I appeared in Sanctuary and sighed as the light of the boom tube faded away. Damn it, of course he's the fastest man alive. His reaction time alone is enough to let him beat 1,000 of me without breaking sweat. The Flash will forever be the most hacks character I know. I still had one last stop to make. After arriving on Sanctuary, the MDP had begun to resonate with something a few thousand miles away from the island, so I knew which step I needed to take next. I weighed my options. I could complete that final step, then take a shower and rest, or vice versa. Take a shower first, rest, and then complete the final step to upgrading my realm. I went for the second option. I didn't know if I would be booted out of the elemental dimension as it underwent changes, So the only time I would get the chance to bite on some sweet Grango was now. My decision made. I stripped out of my sweetie costume and sighed in relief as I soaked my tired muscles into the hot spring of one of my islands. My tense muscles loosened as my eyelids felt heavy. A boom tube appeared at my back and I sank through it, finding myself inside my bathroom back on Earth. I toweled myself off and then left for the bed. Seeing the comfy apparatus of fine rest almost brought tears into my eyes. I sank into the sheets and it was lights out for me. A few hours later, looking at the clock showed 8 of them had passed. I woke up to blinking alerts in my vision. Guess the system was sick and tired of being ignored for so long. I yawned and carried out my morning duties, though looking at the time, it was past 2. Oh, so not that far from the morning. After brushing my teeth and what have you, I settled down on the bed and started going through the notifications one by one. Chain quest initiated. Destroy Galeel's known associates February 5th. First mission famine and drought. A trail of endless hunger. The demon Nimith is causing destruction in Africa, a cute little country called Kenya which is roughly the size of Texas. The big bad devil doesn't like that a certain someone is disparaging his name and running his reputation even more to the ground than it already is. So he has dispatched you, Aden Strong, demon hunter, to send this foodie back to hell where he belongs. Objectives. 1. Kill Nimith or exorcise him. 2. Do so before he triggers his special skill and devours the shit out of you. 3. Do so before he crosses the boundary into Sudan, successfully triggering canon events. Time limit, 24 hours. Mission difficulty, hard. Mission status, complete. All objectives cleared. Rewards, 50 training points. 30 training points for objectives cleared.
Urgent mission.
The demon Mammon wants to use the access node of the green and the souls of over 100 humans to infect the world with a virus designed to turn the earth into a hellish wasteland and the humans and creatures into demons subservient to him and him alone. Mission objectives. Stop him at all costs. Save Swamp Thing / become the new champion of the green. Mission time limit, 5 minutes. Mission difficulty, hell. Mission status complete. Objectives cleared. Hidden objective nulled by completion of the second objective. Rewards, 100 training points. 50 training points for objectives cleared.
Urgent mission.
Mammon has taken over Superboy and now wants to wreck you. Defeat Super Mammon and serve him his ass. Luckily, you used your brains and cheated, you smart boy. Mission time limit, 50 hours. Mission difficulty, hard. Mission status, complete. Rewards, 50 training points. Congratulations. You have successfully completed a hell-ranked difficulty mission with minimal injuries. Maybe we should reevaluate the danger factor of these missions, Harambo?
No?
Spoil sport. After tallying the results, a new perk has been rewarded for your efforts, smiley face. Spark of Enlightenment once for every element. You can choose to enter a trance of true enlightenment for 1 full week and master a sub-skill of your choosing to master level without any backlash or side effects. The sub-skill can be anything of your choosing as long as it's aligned with the corresponding element. Whoa. A wide smile lit up my face for 2 reasons. 1 was the new perk that I had just gotten, and 2 were the training points. With this and my progress coupled with the dedication to grind my ass off, I would be seeing a nice increment in my power level before the next mission rolled around. To put things into perspective, Spark of Enlightenment gave me 1 week in a trance to master 1 sub-skill completely. Based on the fact that I could control time in the elemental dimension, I could shorten that time to less than 3 days without destabilizing the wild realm. Then I could use the next 2 days to buy a strong training partner from the system that would allow me to go all out without holding back. That would ensure I was familiar with the new mastered sub-skill before I carried out the next mission. Win fucking win. Christmas came early this year. I said to no one while staring at the beautiful display box. Training points, 285. Chapter 102, Realm Upgrade Part 1. General POV. 3 individuals stood before a bed. The individuals consisted of a bald-headed man dressed in a form-fitting tuxedo, an elderly woman with green eyes and white hair, and lastly a young girl of about 9. Olympia Savage, the daughter of Vandal Savage, placed her hands on the young girl's shoulders. Cassandra Savage, also a daughter of Savage, flinched at the contact. To allow comfort from a loved one is not weakness, Cassandra. It is a form of strength. The elderly woman chided a little. In response to her words, Cassandra sank into her half-sister's embrace and relaxed, hiding the river of tears flowing down her cheeks. Olympia stared at the little girl and smiled. Let it all out, for when the grieving is over, we have work to do. Cassandra took shuddering breaths, trying to get rid of the pain inside her chest. She'd been taken away from her mom at 4 years old, and now, 5 years later, her father was being taken away from her. Olympia rubbed circles around the young child's back while hiding her own pain well, with expert emotional control, farmed from being Vandal Savage's daughter. So although her face seemed impassive, a turmoil of emotional storm was brewing inside her. Tell me something, Luther. Who is responsible for this? Father refused to say a thing before he went into the coma. Olympia asked the other person in the room. Lex's eyes ran over the feeble body of his colleague and dare he say it, friend, and frowned. I am not liable to tell you anything your father didn't, Olympia. He started. Lex held up his hand to stop the elder woman from cutting in. But what I can inform you is that everything is being taken care of. Project Rebirth is slated for to start when a friend of ours finishes taking care of something. Lex said. Olympia nodded. Seeing as she couldn't get any more information out of the business magnate and expert supervillain, she just had to trust that her father had the ability to overcome this, just as he had overcame everything that had ever been thrown at him. Hey, Cassandra. She lightly shook the little girl. Cassandra wiped her eyes and stared up at Olympia. Did I tell you about his fight with the bear? And so she begun the story of the ages. The story of how he started off. A normal man but a god, the savior of humanity at the end of the encounter. Lex, on the other hand, listened in skeptically. Olympia had unwavering trust in Vandal's recovery. Looking down at the stick figure missing patches of hair with a respirator on his face, Lex didn't think Vandal would pull through. Vandal had told Lex the promise Lucifer had made, that the next time they met up would be the demise of Savage, the unmaking of all he was. Lex shuddered. The devil was fucking scary. Lex would rather go up against a murderous Superman who would tear him apart with his bare hands, or split him into two with his heat beams than this. Vandal Savage was losing everything. His strength, his powers, his skills, and his faculties. And that wouldn't do because Luthor needed Savage alive. Many plans would fall through if Savage died. But just in case Project Rebirth failed, Lex would need to have a backup plan. A backup plan strong enough to deal with even Lucifer. Penthouse, Club Lux. Lucifer chuckled. His 6-foot frame shook with mirth. Oh, this is truly entertaining. A plan to deal with me. Let us see what this world can actually offer. His eyes glowed red before the whole atmosphere of the room was broken by a bunch of popcorns being thrown at him. Oi, you're doing it again, Maze said after pausing the screen, where The Godfather Part 2 was playing. This was supposed to be a chill evening. Maze admonished. Lucifer sighed and rolled his eyes. You've changed, love. Where's the mayhem-loving, blood-thirsty violent femme fatale I know, love, and hate sometimes? In response, Maze have him the middle finger. Please, I'm still the same old ruthless bitch. You're the one who's changed. The devil I know would never bother to spy on what his enemies are up to. I remember you telling me it's bad form to get the spoilers to a main event that might prove even a little entertaining. She huffed. Lucifer crossed his legs and leaned back into the couch, swirling the glass of liquor on his hand slowly. Change does not apply to beings like I, Maze. You know that. To explain my recent shift in behavior, I find myself a little invested in seeing how my pet project takes on these challenges. Will he fail or succeed? Who knows? But the war that is coming is enough to get me shivering in excitement. Aden's POV. 285 points was a lot. Enough to really get me started on mastering firebending and moving on to the next element. But before I could start the grind, the final thing on my list was upgrading the elemental dimension to the next level, which was why the next boom tube I used emptied out in a nondescript island part of a chain of islands covered with mist all day long. This was a subpar security measure to stop any spying onto what I was hiding on the island. Alien technology. A big deal in DC. An example of big deal alien tech was the emotional spectrum rings, reach scarabs, apocalyption tech, Kulon tech, and a whole lot more. So whatever this minor thing was, it couldn't be anything simple. And future me knew more about it than I did, based on the fact that the MDP was highly resonant with the machine, minor number 0234. I stepped onto the unnaturally hard surface that made up the ground of the island, smoothly. My steps were cautious and eyes focused on the strange situation unfolding before my eyes. The whole island, filled with greenery, fruit-bearing fruits, chipping birds and animals scurrying about, had changed. For starters, the ground was now even and flat. I crouched and ran my fingers along it. My eyebrows scrunched up in a frown. The ground was pulsing with warmth. Strange. My gaze turned to study what was in front of me. The answers I needed were right ahead. Right ahead in the form of a huge 50-meter tower made with obsidian material, with the foundation sprouting blackened roots that speared through the ground of the island all around 20 meters within its vicinity. A green shield of energy extended 10 more meters away from the last of the roots. I could get the approximate measurements due to my connection with the realm. The tower was the only thing standing on this island. I could see the next islands over, clearly from across the vast distance. I had no idea what the miner was doing. Diving into my connection with the elemental dimension, I only got the sense that whatever was happening was beneficial to the realm. But it was taking too slow. The elemental dimension felt almost eager to complete the next step. Stepping closer, the resonance grew even bigger and the pulsing I could feel emanating through the ground and up the soles of my boots increased as well. I stopped a meter away from the shield energy. Now that I was this close, I could feel it humming, ready to push back against any intrusion. Nothing could really hurt me in this dimension. So I clenched my ass cheeks and placed a hand. I felt an overpowering mental probe explode out of the MDP and blast through my telepathic walls like wet tissue paper. My surroundings changed as I swallowed a cry at the sudden pain inside my mind. I was crouched in the floor when I heard him.
Sorry.
I tried to make it easier on you, but you were so weak back then. It's crazy. That voice. It was more mature and deep, but unmistakable. Can you really forget your own voice? I stood up shakily to my feet, trying to find him. Looking around, my new surroundings were eerily similar to Sanctuary. Yet it was nothing other than a mental caricature of the real thing. I couldn't feel the connection I had with the realm from wherever I was, which was trippy and scary at the same time because that connection was always ever present. I tried looking around some more to locate the source of the voice with no luck. Hello, is anyone there? I shouted to no avail. Future me seemed hellbent on playing mind games with me. A few seconds later, this is a mental recording. Now that you are sufficiently calm, listen up. I attentively focused on his next words. This world is not as simple as you think it is. It will break you, make you only to break you again. The only thing constant is your power. Your power will see you through loss, breakups, betrayals, and at the end of it all, you will ask yourself, standing on the ashes and bones of both friends and enemies, was it all worth it? I did. I threw my hands up in defeat. Oh, come on. I've heard enough cryptic statements to last me a lifetime. What I need is some spoilers. How to break the system some more. How to get hacks. I joked, but inside I was shook. Although I said cryptic statements, nothing about the statements was cryptic. In other words, I was in for an eventful future. The voice spoke up again, ignoring my childish tantrums. The MDP's main objective is to sync with the Skoniad miner number 0234 mineral extraction pod. The miner's inner routines will be enhanced to create stronger variants of worker drones, which the Skoniads use to extract valuable minerals from different worlds in the cosmos for research purposes. When the Reach sought out to use their technology for nefarious means, all production of miner tech was shut down. Number 0234 must have been cut off from the main system. With the influence from the elemental dimension, the process of creating worker drones for the upkeep of the dimension is well underway, with an estimated 1 year till completion. With the help from the MDP, that process can be cut down to 3 months. Whoa, mind blown. Chapter 103, Realm Upgrade Final Part, Aden's POV. The mental recording abruptly ended and I found myself back on the island. An island that would soon need a name if it was to be the birthplace of the new worker drones designed to develop new infrastructure and keep the environment secure and intact. I looked at the silver ring on my thumb in indecision. To be honest, this was what I wanted, but I was also conflicted. Future me was invested in making sure I made it out alive. That much was true. However, what assurance did I have that I would make it to his time the way I wanted? What if whatever upload I used to upgrade the realm was something beneficial to him and not me? It's a deeper question than it might seem, and I was slowly learning to ask such questions. Well, I guess all I can do is take the chance that this won't screw me badly down the line. And even if it does, cutting down the time for the upgrade from 1 year to 3 months is a deal I can live with. I told myself and stepped forward. My hand came up and touched the energy field surrounding the tower. Instead of bouncing off, the palm sank in with a light, tingling sensation. I took a deep breath and crossed through the membrane with minimal hesitation. Now that I was inside the tower, I could feel massive energy of the same signature as a father box, just missing the sinister feel throbbing through the space. The tower was directly connected to the core of my world, which was the cleansed father box paired up with Moro's code and bound together by the Avatar State's order energy. The tower was directly tapping into the flow of energy and using that power to create a production hub for worker drones. That was all there was to it. The miner number 0234 main task was to refine minerals and transport that mineral back to the Skoniad home planet, or their outposts in the nearest star sector. The smart algorithm maintaining the realm had taken that chance to tweak the miner's core objective into something else. Left alone, the realm was in the process of further upgrading that smart algorithm into something more. The combination of the 3 factors, Fatherbox for source energy, Moro's code as the building blocks and integrity, and the Avatar State's order energy to balance everything would give rise to something completely different. True consciousness. To hasten the process, that's where the MDP came in, which is also why I was hesitant into fully trusting it. What if the resulting true consciousness was loyal to me, but not this me? Gah, this shit is too convoluted. I feel like I'm taking an unnecessary risk. Should I go through with this? I took another hard look at the silver ring on my thumb. Be in control. I remembered those words from future me. This didn't feel like I was in control. I lowered my hand and stepped back. I couldn't take unnecessary risks anymore. Not until I had the odds stacked in my favor. To ensure that the MDP would be in my full control, I was going to have to seek some mystical help. Future me was probably expecting me to rush into this because of the contradictory statement he added on later about power being the one thing I could count on, but Like I said before, I was starting to learn. So no using the MDP until I was sure it was safe to utilize. I spared one look at the island before jumping inside a boom tube. There were many strong wizards, sorcerers, and magicians I could get help from. Wotan was a beast easily on Dr. Fate's level at his strongest. Faust could take on Wonder Woman and Zatara in a fight and successfully escape, though full-powered Zatanna would be more than his match, and the less said about figures like Madame Xanadu, Morgan Le Fay, Circe, Enchantress, just to name a few, the better. My point is, to completely bind the MDP to me and erase any outside influences, I had a lot of options. Every villain was immediately off the table though. Who knew what sort of backdoor, stipulation, or deal they would try to sell and then double-cross me later? I couldn't risk it. In that same vein, most of the heroes were out as well. I had to go for someone who I could leverage against. Someone who wasn't too powerful that I couldn't escape when I needed, but also inclined to listen to me. That said, I was not going in like I was. The realm could wait a few more weeks before I upgraded it. In fact, the only role the MDP had was to shorten that time frame, and while I agree it was less stressful to just go through with it, seeing as, if anything bad happened to me, future me would also be in trouble. This was one of the times I had to hit the brakes. Assume control, and to increase my odds and be in a better bargaining position, I had to power up. I made it back into my room, through the boom tube, and immediately left to find my landlord? Friend? The door to the living room was closed, so I gently knocked, not wanting to interrupt whatever he was doing now, and waited. A few more seconds and I knocked again. I was about to push through when door swung open. Instantly, a blast of hard rock assaulted my ears. Maze ran her eyes over me disinterestedly. Oh, it's just you. With that she turned back and walked away. I followed her in, closing the door behind me with a barely audible click due to the delicious ear rape going on. I'll explain in a few. Where is Lucifer? I shouted over the music. What? She shouted back from the couch where she was bobbing her head to Beelzebub by Tenacious D, the final showdown of the movie by Jack Black and Kyle Gass that was playing on the huge TV screen. Maze made to pause the movie, but I jumped over the couch and stole the remote. She narrowed her eyes at me, but I shook my head with a knowing smile, then turned to watch the underrated movie that had become a cult classic. It's fucking tasty. I'm the devil. I can do what I want. Whatever I've got I'm gonna flaunt. There's never been a rock-off that I've ever lost. I can't wait to take Kaga back to hell. I'm gonna fill him with my hot demon gel. I'll make him squeal like my Scarlet Pimpernel. Interlude. Jack Black, Kyle Gass, both new. Come on Kaguya, bring the thunder. There's just no way that we can win. That was a masterpiece. Listen to me. He rocks too hard. Because he's not a mortal man. Goddamn it, Kaguya. He gonna make you his sex slave. You're gonna gargle mayonnaise.
No.
Unless we bust a massive monster mama jam. Dude, we've been through so much shit. Deactivated lasers with my dick. Now it's time to blow this fucker down. Verse 2. Jack Black, Kyle Gass, both.
Come on, Kaguya.
Now it's time to blow doors down. I hear you, Jabless. Now it's time to blow doors down. Light up the stage. 'Cause it's time for a showdown. We'll bend you over. Then we'll take you to Brown Town. Now we've got to blow this fucker down. He's gonna rape me if we do not blow doors down. Come on, Kaguya. 'Cause it's time to blow doors down. Oh, we'll pile drive ya. It's time for the smackdown. Hey, Antichrister, Beelzebub, we know your weakness. Our rocket sauce. We rock the Casbah and blow your mind. We will defeat you for all mankind. You hold the scepter. We hold the key. You are the devil. We are the D times 18. The lyrics went on until the song was complete. By the end of it, Maze was laughing so hard tears were running down her cheeks. Can you imagine Lucifer's face if he ever watched this movie? It would be priceless. I told her, setting her off into a laugh fest once again. A few minutes later and the movie was done. I turned to her and waited eagerly. She saw me staring and sighed. Okay, I'll admit you humans have a penchant for the unexpected. That wasn't half bad. Yeah, it wasn't. Jack Black is a fucking rock star. I responded and we talked for a few more minutes about other comedy movies she could watch. I even promised her that we could do a movie marathon, to show her more of what humanity had to offer in the ways of entertainment media. So far, the only thing she deemed worthy of humanity's continued existence was the booze. I sucked in a hiss. The only thing standing between Maze and her pushing the big apocalyptic button, if she had one, was the booze. The booze. That's a short list that I aim to change. So what did you want with Lucifer? Maze finally wondered. Well, I still have 2 more missions to carry out before he and I are square. She nodded for me to continue, but I was thinking of taking 2 weeks off to just rest up and unwind from everything, if it's possible. I guess I just wanted to know how urgent the next 2 missions are. I don't want to risk putting people's lives in danger just to take a break when I can deal with the missions now and be done with them. She nodded and poured herself a drink from somewhere. The bottle literally appeared from midair. Well, you're in luck. After you sent Galil and Mammon back to hell, Your other targets have grown cautious and are wisely keeping their heads down. Your next mission was to go to Las Vegas and deal with a sex demon. Her jaw tensed and she tightened her palm on the glass. Seems like the she had some personal history with that particular demon. Luckily, she is not one to cause senseless murder, so 2 weeks is okay, I guess. I got up. Thanks. Hope you don't mind telling Lucifer about that new arrangement? I requested. She waved me off. Don't worry about it, kid. Go do what you have to do. With that, I left. Time to rest, and after that, I'm getting started on the first firebending sub-skill. Chapter 104, Aden's Break. Aden's POV, a week later. 1 week had gone by. Well, 6 days to be exact, so by all counts, almost a week. 1 week where I forgot all the pressure bearing down on my shoulders. 1 week where I took the time to get in touch with my roots again. Seeing as I couldn't travel anywhere else without calling attention to myself through using the new ID and passport Batman had procured for me, I decided to stay in LA. It was home, just in another universe altogether. So if there was a place I could feel at ease and relaxed, it was here. Hence I begun my week of fun by hitting the places that I shared memories of all my loved ones at. The first place was the arcade. My friends and I used to go there almost every day after school, before it was shut down and a gym replaced it. It was more of a way to hang out with them more than playing games. Then I made sure to hit the basketball court with a few of the locals, where my neighborhood used to be. Of course, every residential area was different than what I was familiar with back at my world, but the feel of the place was the same. Heck, even the spot where I used to go to school had an high school built on it. So barring a few things, I could close my eyes and listen with my ears, pretending that I was still home. I did a lot of things during that week. Fortunately, most of the places I grew up going to were present in this world, in some form or other. There was an ice skating rig my pops used to take me, where I went to and enjoyed myself. An old movie theater that was crazy enough, almost the same as the one in my memories. The smell of the seats and the setup was an exact replica that left me drowning in a sea of good memories. An Italian restaurant that had been renovated, and funnily enough been turned into a Chinese restaurant. The seafood there was amazing. And now 6 days later I was sitting inside a table at a froyo shop. This wasn't a place that brought about nostalgia. Looking at the newly painted walls, it was clear that the shop was relatively new. But I love froyo so. We interrupt this program to bring you breaking news. A sudden press address has been called by the Justice League and our on-scene reporter, Cat Grant, is there to bring us more information. I frowned while watching the screen. What could the League be up to? A week had gone by after my little stunt at the Watchtower and I hadn't heard anything about the fallout of both my actions and the mission. That said, it didn't take a genius to deduce that they were not my biggest fans now. Superman stepped forward and took center stage. Not all League members were present. There was a distinct lack of the Thanagarian heroes, the resident speedster, Aquaman, Captain Atom, and Green Arrow. Everyone else was gathered behind Superman. He tapped the mic once, and the gathered press went silent. The same thing happened in the shop, where everyone turned their attention to the Kryptonian. The camera focused on his face, and it was obvious whatever he wanted to say was not good news. Hello, everyone. I want to thank you all for making it here despite the short notice. He briefly went silent before he continued to address the crowd. The Justice League is more than just a gathering of like-minded individuals. It's more than its roster of powerful, skilled, and smart heroes. It's more than the numerous wins against the injustice of the world, or the obstacle to be overcome by those seeking to harm others. The Justice League is a symbol of freedom and hope, a beacon of light when things turn dire. The Justice League is an idea. He stopped to clear his throat and continued amid the flashing lights and snaps from the camera. That said, it is never easy when we lose one of our own. His voice took on a somber tone. We are gathered here today to inform you of Batman's resignation from the League. Shock hit the crowd like a lightning bolt. I heard a small crash and saw one of the waitress hurriedly cleaning up froyo from the floor. She had dropped the cup in surprise at the unexpected news. Soups held up his hand to get everyone to quiet down. I know you all have questions, but please, let me finish first. Batman is a hero unlike any other. We have all learnt something from working with him. He's someone who inspires you to do your best, to give nothing less than 100% of your effort when doing something. His resignation is due to personal matters that I am not at liberty to discuss. However, let me assure you that the League will not stumble or fall in the absence of his leadership and companionship. We will use this chance to honor him, to honor his legacy by doing what we do best, save the world. Any further questions can be directed to our public affairs officer, Miss Catherine Cobert. Thank you. Well, damn, they fucked. Someone said in a booth further inside the shop. I spared a glance and saw a young kid with cornrows, another wearing a long Lakers basketball jersey, and a girl with braces and pigtails. They looked to be about Wally's age. So probably juniors or sophomores in high school. What you mean, Coop? The cornrows kid asked. I raised an eyebrow at the name drop. Think about it. Bats is the strategic mind of the team. Most of the fights the League's been in, his help has been invaluable. I'm telling you guys, the league is in big trouble. The kid wearing a Lakers basketball jersey shook his head. You're wrong. He doesn't even have superpowers. Look at Superman and Wonder Woman. The only reason the villains ever get the jump on them is because they never go all out. We could count the number of supervillains who can go toe-to-toe with him on one hand, so they will probably not even notice his absence. Both of you ain't wrong, but you still missing the point. Sean, it ain't always about the power, dog. It's utility. Look at Manhunter. You'd think that dude can probably take out the whole league due to the many superpowers he possesses, but that ain't ever happening cause he ain't resourceful with them. On the other side, skill and strategy can't bridge the gap between a peak human like the Dark Knight and Superman. So like he said, the Justice League is going to be fine even with Batman. Because it ain't about one person, it's the sum of all parts. The Cornrows kid said. The other two stared at each other in a little surprise. Deawamam Spence, when you turn into one of those Cape Geek analysts on us? Coop joked. Coop's right. I wasn't expecting that. The one called Sean added while laughing. Their names sounded very familiar. I put it out of my head when the screen shifted from Cat Grant to show G. Gordon Godfrey's smug face plastered on the screen. Damn, the guy had such a punchable face. My fingers involuntarily tightened as I felt like kicking his ass just on principle. The oily words coming off his mouth sounded so gross. Well. Can't say I'm surprised, folks. This is what happens when you cannot control your own house. When you have skeletons hiding in your own closet. And no, folks, I am not trying to spin this into something like a conspiracy theory, but look at the facts. A founding member of the Justice League has just resigned. Why? Ask yourself why someone like Batman, known for his staunch belief in upholding justice, would choose to leave the organization he himself helped found? The League is clearly hiding something. Something huge from the public. After the fiasco with the destruction of Mount Justice, one can't help but wonder, has the Justice League finally outgrown its usefulness? Are these cases of incompetence going to increase? We might not know what happens behind their closed doors, my fellow Americans, but one thing is for sure, the whole world is watching. He concluded in an ominous tone that just didn't sit right with me. That guy, something was definitely wrong with him. Batman leaving the League would no doubt affect the view the world had on the Justice League. Batman and Green Arrow were the only two heroes in that lineup who didn't possess alien origins, a metagene that gave them power, super powerful alien weapons, or an accident that gave them superpowers. They were just normal dudes. Normal, highly trained dudes whose entire deal was to use gadgets and their brains to stand next to literal gods. And now that Bats was out, the fear and prejudice that the average unaware person had would increase. Their biggest hope and protectors were made up of abnormal people. Because humanity likes to shit on the minority, the League were not going to have it completely easy. Not to mention Batman or Bruce Wayne was their main source of funding as well. I wonder how that setup was going to work now that he was out of the picture. Not like any of it concerned me. I got up from my seat and paid, leaving the shop but promising myself I would be coming back. They had really good froyo. I went behind the alley to the shop, a boom tube appearing at my front, and jumped in. Now that the week was over, it was time to get back to the grind. I had a sub-skill to master. Chapter 105, First Firebending Sub-Skill Part 1, Aden's POV. The first stop upon leaving the froyo shop was a good donut place where I got a special order. I had used a portal to get there because of the distance between the two places. I opened another boom tube to Sanctuary and made that portal disappear in favor of another one that manifested at my front. I jumped in without a second thought and walked out of the boom tube to find myself in the garden belonging to the local parish, the Catholic church where I went to ask for holy water. I needed some more for an experiment. More specifically, my first firebending sub-skill. It was a 20-minute affair, probably helped by the donuts I got for the nice priest. I left the church with a bottle of holy water and a prayer upon my soul by the priest that I be saved from whatever was troubling me. Another boom tube on the empty garden and I found myself in Sanctuary. I walked towards the makeshift gazebo I had built over time since getting the elemental dimension and immediately settled into a meditative pose. It would have been better to do this in the fire plane due to the deeper connection it provided to my firebending, but what I was going for was calm focus. Something I wouldn't get with the stuffy feeling of my air bending being suppressed. I breathed in lightly, holding the breath for a few seconds before letting it out. Then I held that for a few more seconds and repeated the cycle. I fell into the breathing routine easily, and my mind emptied of all distraction as I sought to keep one thought in my mind. Fire.
Pure burning flames.
The life and death it brings. A perfect cycle of destruction and rebirth. A familiar and warm stirring appeared below my navel. The hearth. My source of flame. Gentle tongues of this wonderful source of energy were stoked by the breath running inside my veins, and it rose up to follow a predetermined route. A route through my body. This time I let it go unrestrained as I followed an instinctual feeling. My powers had to this point been completely different from the normal bending. How far that notion went was something that I had never tested before. However, sitting in that meditative position, I was in tune with the flame inside my body more than I had ever been before. So I followed my intuition. I let it burn freely. And something happened. I felt it get rid of every toxic substance in my body as it run rampant through my body. I felt warmth encompass my whole form in a cocoon. I didn't know it at the time, but had you looked at me from the outside, you would have noticed a shroud of red flames burning around my body. The gazebo remained untouched, however, as were my clothes. What was even stranger was the black liquid that was being produced from my body, covering my skin in a black coating before it was burned to nothing by the flame, leaving behind unblemished, dark skin. I opened my mouth a few hours later and exhaled. A blackened cloud of steam escaped it, and I opened my eyes to a new reality. The world seemed brighter. The details much more clearer. I listened, and I could even hear more. I rose up and stared at myself. I was still dressed in a loose t-shirt and black sweatpants, but they radiated heat as if they were freshly ironed. They also gave off a fresh smell, as if they'd just been washed and dried a few seconds ago. The way the fabric felt on my skin was strange as well. My skin felt more sensitive. All my sensory skills were somewhat heightened. I stretched my body and felt the kinks in my bones disappear. Okay, that felt better than every massage I've ever gotten. I wonder what? My statement was cut short by a blinking text box at the corner of my vision. I sat back down and accessed the display box. Congratulations. Fire is unique amongst the other elements. And you, my friend, have just figured out one of the reasons why. To put in simple terms, fire is active, the rest are passive. Kinda. It gets iffy sometimes. But you get the point. Anyway, your efforts have rewarded you with a new perk, smiley face. Body refinement. Stoke your inner flame and use it to burn away weakness. By using the energy of flames, your body is refined continuously, getting rid of poison, toxins, dirt, and other unsavory bits. Shower in it, can baby. Be careful not to overdo it though. Just as fire can cause the rebirth of a phoenix, so can it turn the world into a burning wasteland. I closed the display box a little shocked. This new perk was a surprise. An unexpected but very welcome surprise. It had the same utility as my adaptive physiology, but I had never tested the limits of that perk fully. Call it what you will, but the truth is my focus had been split between mastering the elements I had access to and getting more skilled to ensure I wouldn't die in this world. So much had happened over the course of a few months, it was crazy. Anyway, the new perk was awesome, and I could see myself using it limitedly, but occasionally when I'm meditating to refine my body. This skill was straight up Shinsha. The other good thing about it was that it would help me burn away any harmful substances from my body. But it wasn't really what I had wanted to focus on. So I moved on to the reason I was there. I eyed the bottle of holy water in my palm and unscrewed its lid. Then I gently poured the liquid onto my palm and closed my eyes. Time to come clean about what I was doing. You see, for my first firebending subskill, I could go the route of lightning bending or combustion bending, the two most prominent firebending subskills known. But here's what I was thinking. While those two were very powerful and cool, lightning bending being especially versatile, given the ideas I had on how I could use it to even increase my speed, they just wouldn't cut it at the moment. I had 2 more missions going up against demons, and if it wasn't for my timely use of a boom tube to send Mammon to my dimension where I was stronger, I couldn't really hurt the powerful ones. Unless I had a way to use their weaknesses against them. The fight with Nemeth had shown me that holy fire was basically their kryptonite. I could choose to master lightning bending or combustion now, or choose to master holy fire as my first subskill and have an easier time with the next demons, and then get back on the grind and master the other 2 later. Here's the thing. Turns out there wasn't a quota on how many subskills I could get. 2 mastered subskills was just the minimum requirement to carry out the advancement trial to Grandmaster. And with the airbending advancement trial being Aang, I wanted to tip the scales in my favor this time, knowing I would go up against any of the best firebenders. Having 3 or even more subskills before I took the advancement trial would no doubt make it much easier to contend with beasts like Iroh. And it doesn't stop there. See, I most definitely knew I was fucked once Lucifer withdrew his protection, so to speak. So I decided to go even further. If I could find a way to not only increase the effects of the holy fire into not only affecting demons or impure beings, but also any being that could turn me into shish kebab, no matter their alignment, I would have a really powerful card up my sleeve. I was aiming for something like an all-devouring flame, but that was far off. I first needed to see if I could even do this. I spread out my nascent energy sense that was growing stronger by the day, just like my telepathy, and observed. My fire started burning the holy water. I was trying to delve into the same mindset I had just before I'd confronted Nemeth. I had been following instinct at that time as well. The water evaporated even faster this time. A small explosion of electric energy erratically streaked through the air, and time stopped. It was different from the temporal anomaly back at the watchtower. This time I could feel my body actively fighting off the effects. My thought process slowed down as a bright pinprick of light appeared in my mind. The light was surrounded by a void of darkness from all around. I lost all my sensations as the light grew increasingly bigger in my vision. My whole being was pulled away from my mortal shell. I couldn't feel the light breeze on my skin anymore. I couldn't smell the scent of the ocean. I couldn't hear the soft waves rock the seashore. All that I was occupied by the light. Like a fire burning in the middle of a canvas, the light pushed away the void of darkness. The darkness lashed out, but was ultimately defeated and fell back to slumber, waiting, biding its time. My hand reached out into the light, intent on capturing its divine and pure essence. I didn't understand what I was doing. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't feeling. All I knew was that fulfillment was just a touch away. I touched it. Instantly, I felt gazes lock onto me, onto my soul. I felt my soul be judged and found unworthy. Terror gripped the entirety of my core as the gazes turned hostile and the light pulled away. No, I was pulled away from it. My eyes opened up suddenly into my elemental dimension. They opened up to one of the scariest and strangest scenes I had ever seen. A blinding light of glory and be hashtag dash colon plus or hashtag beauty. Beautiful, beautiful. Subuzargs. I blinked and all that was replaced by him. I had just seen his true form and my mind had been mere seconds away from going totally insane. His back was to me. His black wings spread out in their full majesty. But the most surprising thing was the billions of light floating in the air to oppose him. Blinding figures dressed in armor, carrying huge swords and spears. They were easily 7 feet tall and huge. Angels, the heavenly host. At the front stood 6 beings. Their white wings were larger and more substantial than the rest of the angels. The archangels. My heart hammered in my chest and my brain went blank. What the fuck have I done? Lucifer looked over his shoulder at me. His face seemed sharper. His jaw line more defined in his eyes. They weren't the red color I was expecting. Instead, they were gold. A gorgeous gold that saw through everything. A smile was spread out across his face. I'll be honest with you, Aden. I am impressed. He laughed before turning his attention back to the heavenly host. I rose up urgently to get ready for the fight when I immediately found myself stumbling in my room back at the penthouse in Club Lux. I looked around in shock. He teleported me away. Creator's thoughts. Saint Barbito. I know Lucy's supposed to have white wings, but there's a reason the one he has are black.